Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is Tyler here, bringing you another video, and today we will be doing a full breakdown of my bracket for Major 5 in Toronto. Before we get into the bracket, I do want to mention my fantasy team, which I forgot to put in the last video, but we were able to bounce back a little bit after week 3, the final online split of the season. If you didn't see any previous videos, I was in the top 1% after week 1. I was 6th overall rank, number 6 overall in the entire Breaking Point standings for fantasy. And then after week 2, we dropped down big time from top 1% to top 75%, where we were ranked like 6,700th. But yeah, we bounced back a little bit after week 3. Getting back into the top 50% of users, ranked 2,589th now. So yeah, this is my team, just in case you haven't seen it yet or forgot what it was. Scrappy as my captain. I also have his teammate Hixie in there. And then Envoy and Bance. Of course, Envoy, he is playing pretty well, but with LAT being 1-4 and starting in losers, this is starting to look like not so good of a pick. At least I did get the lowest priced of all of the LAT players. But, yeah, I don't know. We'll see if they show up on land, but not sure how many matches he will get in there. Rocker, they've been looking really well, so Bance as my lowest priced player is actually, doing pretty well. He's outscoring Hixie. Hixie is very up and down for sure, but he's usually the guy in the hill for Toronto, so that's basically why I picked him. And if you missed my previous videos, I'm going off this whole narrative that Toronto, after the rough go in the Stage 4 online split, that they will come out strong here, and they looked pretty well this split. I think they ended up going 3-2 though. Yeah, I was very surprised that they lost to Rocker on Sunday, but either way, man, I just think that they will go far in this tournament. Fantasy-wise, if they win, it helps me out a lot, but I'm an Optic fan. I've mentioned that, so I definitely want Optic to win. And we'll see how my bracket plays out in a sec, but I do think if Optic don't win, I think the next best teams that will challenge them will either be FaZe or Toronto. So yeah, this is how my fantasy is looking right now. Hopefully these guys finish out strong in this, so we'll see how well I rank. We'll go ahead and get into my bracket now. So I already went ahead and filled out the first round. We'll go over it real quickly. Optic, I got them 3-1, starting off with a nice win over Florida. They did just 3-0 them online over the weekend, but all those matches were close, man. Every map that was close. So I think Florida on land could steal a map for sure, whether it's the search or the control, but they will not beat Optic in hardpoint. I can promise you that. So Optic 3-1 there. Rocker against Breach. I have Rocker taking them down 3-1. Just the way they've been playing lately, I think they will come out strong. And you also know, if you've listened to me before, that I think Breach is just straight up sound EQ warriors, online EQ warriors, whatever you want to call them, man. So now that they're on LAN, we'll see how it goes. Boston was at Minnesota's home series a couple of weeks ago and did not agree to not use sound EQ. So that's a big topic, of course. It was a big topic, and then now they are going to be forced to not use it. They definitely cannot use it here. So Rocker, regardless of that, man, I got Rocker 3-1 because they've just been looking good. Even after the quick turnaround change with Attach going back into the lineup, Fame going back to his regular role of SMG, they've looked good, man. I mean, they beat LAT on Friday, I think it was, and then also beat Toronto on Sunday. So yeah, they've been looking good, man. They just beat two good teams. LAT had slammed them all year long. Rocker only had won one map against LAT all year, and they came out and beat them pretty convincingly in that series last weekend. So yeah, I think they continue to look good. 3-1 over Boston. And then you go down here, we got FaZe. I got 3-2 over Vegas. This is a big matchup for Vegas, man. I don't think that Legion has ever beat FaZe in the CDL era. So if they're able to pull off the upset here, that'd be huge for them, because getting top 6 would automatically get you 20 points. And Rocker, as you see, already get 20 points with me having them beat Boston. I'll, of course, go over a bunch of different scenarios once I'm done going through the bracket. But yeah, move on to Toronto and New York. I think this could be a really good series. I would have considered taking New York, but I just don't understand why they did the whole substitute thing. I won't go into a long spiel about it. I already talked about that a lot on Monday in that video. So yeah, they could have had an easier matchup, whether it would have been against possibly Boston if they would have won one more map in that series last weekend, or if they would have just won the series, they would have most likely been, I think, against Rocker maybe. It would have been either Rocker or actually no, Vegas, I think it would have been. Either way, man, New York screwed themselves over. They now get Toronto in round 1 at Toronto's own home major. So, yeah, Toronto's going to take this 3-2, man. It should be a good series, man, but I think Toronto will clutch up in that map 5 search. So, we'll go down to losers round 1 now. So, Florida, they dropped down to play LAT. I don't know why I had that wrong there, but there we go. I have LAT beating them 3-2. I think this could be a really good series, man, but I mean, hey, I got it going map 5, so it should be good. Florida did beat LAT during this online split, but once we go over to LAN, man, I think LAT, man, they got something to prove now. After going 1-4, they are going to try to come out strong, and I think we see them get the job done. They've been looking good in search. Of all things, their search has been pretty decent. Their respawns have just seemed to have fallen off since winning that Major 4. But yeah, LAT, man, I think they win 3-2, get back on track a little bit here, try to get a loser's run in. Boston, of course, they lose to Rocker in round 1, then drop down to play London. Much different opponent. They should slam them 3-0 to move on to play LAT in losers round 2. To finish off losers round 1, we got Vegas after the loss to FaZe dropping down to Surge. And this is a big matchup because Surge is one of those teams that Vegas could catch up to. And I do have Vegas beating them 3-1. They did beat them during this online split, and I think over on LAN, with all that's on the line here, I think Vegas will definitely get this job done here, man. If they lose this, then they're definitely done. Definitely not going to champs. And then we round it out with New York against LAG. I got a 3-0, man. LAG, they're pretty much chalked. I ain't got nothing left to play for, man, other than trying to, just play spoiler, try to get some teams out of here that should make a run. Even if New York finds a way to beat Toronto, if Toronto falls down here, they would slam LAG as well. But this is what I got so far. And then LAT against Boston. I got LAT taking them down 3-1, man. I think it'll be a solid series, but possibly Breach take the first hard point or the control. That's all I'd give them, though. LAT, I definitely think, would definitely beat them in search for sure. And they'll take that series 3-1. Even if it goes to a map 5, LAT definitely the stronger search team in my eyes. So either way, I think they'd win that series and move on to losers round 3. In the other losers round 2 matchup, we got Vegas against New York. This would be a rematch from, I think they played in winners round 1 last major. And this time, it's going to go a different way. I got Vegas taking them down. Like I said, man, they're fully motivated. It's going to go map 5. Vegas is a pretty good search team. New York is as well, but I'll give the edge to Vegas with, all the factors going in. They need to make champs. They need this dub. So this is how the losers is looking so far. And we'll go up 2 winners, round 2. So this will be Saturday's matches. And I have Optic beating Rocker 3-1. If you've watched me before, you know I often have Optic winning series 3-1 because I basically don't see them losing any hard points. And then Rocker, I think, could steal one of either the search or the control. Most likely the control, say less. They pretty much are one of the best control teams in the league. And Optic, they struggled a lot earlier in the season. I think they've gotten much, much better at it lately. But Rocker's still better than them in that mode. And I think they could take that. So that'd be it, though. Optic 3-1, man. They won't lose the hard points. And their search has been looking really strong lately as well. So yeah, Optic 3-1 there to advance to the winners finals. And then we move over to FaZe and Ultra, man. This is a very key matchup. I believe that between these two teams, it could go either way, man. I'm actually going to go ahead and take FaZe here in a 3-1. I was thinking about going 3-2. It's hard to be confident in FaZe's respawns right now. Their hard point's been looking a little bit better. Their control, definitely not up to par with Toronto's. Toronto's probably the best team in the league at control. So I think they take that. But other than that, I'll give FaZe the hard points, surprisingly, both of them. And then, of course, I got them taking the search. Even if it goes map 5, it'll be FaZe clutching up in the search. So I think it'll be them moving on to the winners finals. As you see, I will have Rocker and Toronto dropping down into losers round 3. Now these are some pretty insane matchups here, man. Starting with LAT against Toronto. Toronto at their home major. They're going to get it done, clutching up in the map 5 search. LAT, man, their losers run goes to an end here. They get a couple wins before champs, so they feel pretty solid on LAN. I don't think that this would be a bad showing from them at all, especially after how they looked in the online split. They get a couple of wins here and then lose to Ultra, who is at their own home major. So, yeah, I got Toronto 3-2 in that to advance to losers round 4. And then in losers round 3, this matchup is huge, man. Rocker versus Vegas. So, at this point, Vegas would have to outplace Rock. Actually, even if Rocker lose this, I think that they, at this point, would have more points. Yeah, they would have more points than Seattle at this point. So Rocker would already be safe in champs at this point. Vegas, however, would still need to win. And I think they could do that. If they win this matchup, that would put them tied with Seattle at 190, based on how my bracket's gone. And I will have them winning this matchup, man. I'm going to keep on having them clutch up. It's going to go 3-2, map 5. They're going to clutch up. These are going to be insane series back-to-back for them. And they're going to have a lot of momentum going in to that losers round 4 matchup against Toronto. Now this, I think, is where their run will end. Although, it'd be top 4. And in this scenario, how my bracket plays out, they would end up tied in the standings. I'll pull those up real quick as well. So, you see the placings here. If you get 4th, that's 30 points. Vegas is currently at 160, Seattle at 190. So 30 points would put Vegas tied with Seattle at 190. Boston would be at 210 at this point, and Rocker would also be, I think, at 210. Or they'd be at least 200 at this point. So either way, they'd be safe. Vegas, I think, as long as it plays out the way I have it, they'd end up tied with Seattle. And then it goes to tiebreakers, but you see them here. And the first one is head-to-head match win percentage. And I'll go over here to Vegas on Breaking Point. And when I was looking at this, I was surprised to see that they have actually only played Seattle twice this entire season. Once in the online split for Stage 2, and Vegas beat them 3-2. And the next time was this most previous split, which they beat them again 3-1 this time. So 2-0 against Seattle this year would have them winning that tiebreaker and therefore being the 8 seed, and Seattle would not make champs based on how my bracket has played out. So even if Vegas lose this to Toronto, they'd still be in champs, man. That'd be insane. If they lose this previous round matchup to Rocker, then they're out. So that's a big one, man. That's going to be insane. Vegas did beat Rocker online a couple of weeks ago. So we'll see if they can translate that to LAN, man. But yeah, for losers round 4, we move on. Toronto versus Vegas. Toronto's going to take them down, man. They're not losing to Vegas at home. You know, Scrappy versus Standy, big matchup. I got Toronto beating them 3-1. They're going to come out and beat them. Get the job done. Vegas is all right, though. After they beat Rocker, they're probably so ecstatic that they're not even too worried. Of course, they would like to finish off, try to get to this grand final. But at this point, they got most of the job done, getting the champs based on how my bracket plays out here. So, with Toronto Ultra waiting in the losers finals, that is, we move to the winners final. Optic versus FaZe. FaZe has not beat Optic at all this entire season, and that will continue here with Optic winning another series 3-1. Now, the odds of all these being 3-1s for Optic is probably not too likely, but either way, that's how I'm going to go with it. And Optic advances to their third straight grand finals. But this time, can they finally get over the hump and get that victory? We'll have to see, man. We'll have to see. And who will that be against? We got FaZe against Ultra in the elimination finals. And a lot of people probably have Toronto getting this done here. But I had FaZe beating them 3-1 in winners round 2, and I have them winning again this time by a map count of 3-2. It's going to be an insane series, that's for sure. But I got FaZe coming out on top 3-2, clutching up in the search. And that'll set up an Optic versus FaZe rematch from winners finals, now in the grand finals, in which Optic will finally get the job done. They will finally get over that hump in the grand finals, and they will take this series 4-2, man. I just don't see FaZe being able to beat them on hardpoint. The searches will be insane. Control being in twice is a big swing. But with FaZe being so rough at control, I mean, come on, they lost a control to London a couple weeks ago. I think Optic get the job done finally. 4-2, final map count here in the grand finals. Optic finally get the job done. And that would be 15 points more, as first place gets 65, and FaZe would be 50 in second place. So what that would mean there would mean that Optic would then gain those 15 points that they are currently behind in the regular season standings, and they would be tied with FaZe in points before champs. So that means Optic would actually end up being the number 1 overall seed, because they would hold the tiebreakers because they've beat FaZe every time this year. So yeah, that'd be a big one, man. That would be huge. And then, yeah, Toronto placing third. They would stay there as the 3 seed. And pretty much most of these would stay the same, other than Optic overtaking FaZe. Basically telling you where the champ seedings would place out based on the bracket that I just showed you. My bracket, I think I'm pretty confident in it, man. As long as Vegas can go on that run that they need to make champs, then it should play out pretty close to what I've got, I think. Of course, like the round 1 matchups, Rocker against Breach, if that goes the other way, then things could get even more interesting. But based on my bracket, yeah, Optic would move to number 1. Then you'd see FaZe at 2, Toronto 3, Thieves 4. New York would be 5. And then Boston, I think, would stay at 6, with Rocker moving up to 7. Vegas moving up to 8 to make it. And then Surge would drop out of champs, going to the 9 spot, which would be insane, but it's very, very possible. Yeah, one last time I will show you the full bracket before we talk about a couple other scenarios that could happen. But yeah, this is what I got. I think it's pretty solid, man. As long as Vegas shows up, man, I think they can go on that run and get the job done, you know? Yeah, this is what I got. Comment below your thoughts, man. What do you got different? Have you filled one out? If not, you should definitely go check it out, man. Just go to the Call of Duty League website and click on Pick'em. It's definitely tons of fun, man. This is one of my worst majors so far. You see 24 points week 3 was my strongest, and week 1 and 2 was rough. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and lock these in, man. Save those predictions. Cannot be modified. We're submitting. And that's that. That's our bracket. But yeah, just go check C Major 4. I finished with 96. I only was rough week 1. Then week 2 and 3 were pretty good. And then the bracket, yeah, I mean, I did pretty good with it, but could have done much better. Vegas flaming out of that last one definitely hurt me, so that'll do ya. Either way, I just want to show you how I did the last time. But yeah, should be a fun major to watch. I'll talk about a couple other scenarios real quick. So if Rocker lose this first match to Boston, I mean, they're going to go down and beat London down here, right? So then you would be, as a Vegas fan, you would then be counting on them to lose to LAT. But at the same time, that would mean that they get, what was that, 10 points for top 8? Yeah, 10 points for top 8. So that'd put them also at 190. So at that point, it would come down to tiebreakers between Vegas, Seattle, and Rocker. So let's see Vegas against Rocker. They beat them once there. They're in the regular season. They beat them again in Stage 3 online split. And in the Major 1 online split. Or no, that was actually at Major 1. And even during the online split. So yeah, they've dominated Minnesota this year. So Vegas would hold tiebreakers over both Rocker and Seattle if they end up tied with them. We'd also have to look over at the Seattle versus Minnesota tiebreaker as well. And when we look at it, Seattle lost to Minnesota the first time they played, which was the Stage 2 online split. And then they beat them in the Stage 3 online split. So that's 1-1. And then they played one more time later on at Major 4, and Minnesota beat them. So Minnesota would also hold a tiebreaker over Seattle. So Seattle's basically screwed unless they find a way to win their losers round 1 matchup, whether it's against Vegas or FaZe. And just the way they've been playing lately, man, I don't see it happening. I think Seattle's going to be the odd man out here. Unless Vegas don't get all the way to top 4, of course, then they'll sneak in. But they will be the 8 seed at that point. And then Boston, I mean, the only way Boston doesn't make it is if they get double first rounded, which I don't see happening. I highly doubt that they go lose to London, man. That'd be insane. That would just open up a whole nother opportunities and whatnot for different teams. Another scenario I will touch base on real quick, which is very unlikely, but say Vegas pulls off this upset against FaZe. Top 6 is automatically 20 points, so that would be big if Rocker somehow, I mean, Rocker, no matter what, they're not going to avoid getting at least 10 points. So Vegas would need to get 30 regardless. Even if they beat FaZe, they would then have to try to beat Toronto in that round 2 matchup, or New York, whoever it ends up being. And if they don't, they would then drop down to this spot here. They would be most likely against Thieves, or if it ends up being Breach or Rocker that go through this way. Either way, Vegas would then have to beat one of Thieves or Rocker or Breach. Which, if it's Rocker or Breach, I would definitely think Vegas could get the job done. If it's Thieves, though, I think LAT would beat them and knock them out and ultimately end their hopes of making it to champs. So, honestly, their best shot probably is to lose round 1 and then go down, beat Seattle, ensure themselves that Seattle get no more points, and make this run that I have them going on. But, yeah, man, that's just a couple different scenarios, man, for Vegas. Basically, they just need to make sure that they outplace Rocker. Based on how I have it here, it'll be good enough as long as whether it's them or FaZe that fall down to play Surge, Surge just has to lose here. Surge has to lose here. That is the main key. I think that is the team that will be overtaken rather than Rocker, especially with how Rocker's been playing, man. They've been looking good. But yeah, man, that's pretty much going to do it. I don't want to take up too much more time, man. Optic, man, they're finally going to get over that hump. Let's go, Greenwall. We got this. Brick by brick. Finally going to get the job done. Take that momentum into champs. Hell, might even go back-to-back, just like Thieves did last year. But yeah, man, I hope you guys did enjoy. Go ahead and slap that like button for me if you did. Comment your thoughts. Let me know how you think this major's going to go. And yeah, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Have a nice day. Peace.